Okay, and we're recording. So, good morning, everyone. I am recording this Google Meet in case there are people who could not join us, and several people requested a copy of this presentation. So, this is going to be super informal. I am just going to share some resources that I put together that are district approved on using AI in our schools. So, this presentation has already been presented to your school technology coordinators. So, some of them may have turned around this, but I'm going to go through some implications, a couple of examples of things, and then get into some tools that we can use. So hopefully this will take a little less than an hour. You can receive professional development credit for this. I have not made the professional learning entry yet, but I will take a copy of the people who attended the meeting today. And then if you watch this recording and want to send me an email about that you did watch the session, and then I can also award you credit for that as well. So I can do all of that for you based on our attendance for the session today. So I did drop a copy of this presentation in the chat so you can follow along with me as we go through. I'm going to see if I can just presenting my screen. There we go. So, like I said, I'm just going to go through some things quickly. And then if there's anything that you want to discuss further or have questions about, I'm more than willing to do that. I'm assuming that y'all can hear me okay too, Shelly or Virginia, if y'all can just let me know really quickly that I'm not just talking to myself.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect, because nothing worked on my computer this morning when I got here too, so I have fixed all of that, thank goodness. Okay, so just some quick, I did like a little outline for it. So we're going to talk first about what we use AI for every day. So basically every session that I've been to in the past year about AI goes over all of the ways that you use AI every day. So some examples of those things would be like our facial recognition on our phones, the predictive text that we use that especially Google has picked up a lot of now. If you've worked in docs at all, within the past probably 6 months, you've probably realized that it does the predictive text for your sentences, which can come in really handy at times. Google Maps, it's kind of scary whenever you get your car every day, your navigation in your car. Mine's hooked to my Apple CarPlay. It tells me, I think you should go to the Board of Education because it's Wednesday. And I'm like, nope, I'm on Christmas break. I'm not going there today. And then things like Pandora and Netflix recommending TV shows and songs for you. So all of those are examples of AI that we've all been accustomed to and that some of us even appreciate now. So we're thinking about too, this same technology, this same type of software that's now integrating into education, and there's been a lot of resistance for it. I mean, it is a really hot topic. So Matt Miller wrote a book about AI, which is where a lot of the content for this presentation came from, because he really does a fantastic job explaining it in layman's terms. So this is a cycle that he illustrated in his book, which I was like, that's with every new thing, that when something first comes out, there's a lot of conflict about it. It goes to an all-time high because so many people want to try it out and use it. A lot of people struggle with it and it kind of falls off, and then we kind of level out after a while. So I feel like we're somewhere between this peak of people using it, and then some people are going to struggle with it and they're going to drop it, but then some people are going to kind of persevere and push through with it. And we may already be seeing that. Some people may be between a 3 and a 4 with our AI tools right now. But I feel like, again, when Google came out, or the internet in the classroom, some of our teachers can be familiarized with this. When we put Chromebooks in schools, we went through the same type of cycle. So like all new things, we just kind of have to get used to it. So briefly looking at what AI is, Matt Miller's definition is the ability of a computer or a machine to do things that normally require human intelligence. So basically the computers are learning based off our patterns. So a lot of people get kind of nervous about this because they think that it's really has a mind of its own, but it's learning from us is really the better way to think about it. And so there's 3 basic types. There's rule-based AI, which has to have basically direct input to generate something that, like in Google Maps, that you have to put in an address for it to generate directions for you. There's strong AI, which is kind of a mix in between of rule-based versus generative. And generative AI is more of what these tools are that we're looking at today, where based on patterns and based on things that it's learned, it can kind of generate its own things, but it still gathers information from a source. It's still not just made up out of the blue. And on the Know Before that got sent out today, I forgot I scheduled one for January, but I did. But it is on AI because I was really planning on rolling out AI to the district in January. It does a really good job of explaining what you need to check for with AI. And that's something that's not included in this presentation. And that's one of the reasons why I picked that training, is because it talks about fact checking and things like that. So it's a really good one too. It doesn't take that long to go through. It's really interactive, if you haven't done that yet. So my little shameless Know Before plug. So thinking about what this does for our teachers, one thing that I want to really take a second and stand firm on is that our solid teaching can overcome anything. So having good quality teachers that are teaching good quality lessons is never going to change. Technology is not going to replace them, and it's not going to improve someone it's not going to improve poor teaching. So I'm not saying that anyone's a bad teacher, but technology cannot replace a good quality teacher. Technology is only going to enhance lessons and help bridge the gap between our content that we're trying to teach and the world that the students live in and how they receive information. So that is something that really stuck with me from the book that Matt Miller quotes about, is that, this is not to replace a teacher, and our students are not going to start being taught by robots. We still have to have that. It's just an enhancement. So for teachers, these are some time savers. So a couple of things that I can show you too on the tools today. IEP goals. I don't know if anyone that registered for the session is a special education teacher, but there is a tool that can help you write an IEP. I wrote one in about 5 minutes and showed it to Ms. Coppage. While no, it was not perfect, it is a really good way though to help me come up with some ideas that I may not have had, or to give you the correct phrasing, like what the goal needs to say, but you are just so tired because you've written 10 IEPs and you need the sentence structure to be correct. It can put that structure together for you. Quizzes. A lot of us teachers, we know that we use the same quizzes from year to year, but we need to change them up a little bit so that students can't cheat. It can generate a new, fresh way to ask your questions and content without you having to come up a way to rephrase something 15 times. Templates are another great thing. Lesson plans. So this is something that, a lot of teachers get into. Well, is that not plagiarism? Is that not cheating? Well, whenever you bought a lesson off Teachers Pay Teachers and then you used it in your lesson plans, that essentially is the same thing. You can obviously cite it and reference where you got your lesson, but those things are still examples of, you're using someone else's content for your lessons. Rubrics also, I used to be a science teacher and I did tons of projects that all required a rubric. A rubric can be a pain to create and it's very, very lengthy. So by all means, using an AI tool to create a rubric, I would be all for it. So with those in mind, when we're talking about educating our students, there does have to be somewhat of a little shift. Whenever we went to AETC this past summer, we went to several AI sessions, and the teachers that I took with me, they kind of finally, it clicked that, the way that we've always been teaching is not really going to be sustainable with these technologies. We can't just ask direct questions that require just direct reverberation of what we've taught the students. We kind of have to get a shift going in the way that we're approaching these things. And so these are just some suggestions of ways that by AI being part of our world now, that we kind of have to think about the way that we're teaching in the classroom, that, we have class discussions that require a conversation and thoughtful answers and thought-provoking questions, that we allow students to work together. There's lots of lesson plans and ways that I've looked at to use AI where students kind of like gang up on AI, where they get a piece of work that's written by AI and they dissect it and they look for imperfections and they look for ways to improve it in a collaborative way. So, that can kind of bring out that competitive side in some students, and it can kind of bring out that side that challenges them too, where they're trying to be better than that tool. Embracing creative demonstrations of learning other than just a straight essay or a test, that you do other types of assignments that can't be easily, spit out by a chatbot, that it be a video creation or an infographic created or storyboard. We also have a new program that we're rolling out called Book Creator, where they can create a book to showcase the knowledge that they've learned. So using other types of ways to demonstrate their learning are also a good way to combat this AI age. And then there's a brain dump strategy mentioned in the book as well, where you do like daily references to content learned, and you kind of practice retrieving that information over and over again so that it kind of stays in their mind. These are just some infographics that are on there. Some of the tools that were on this are things we're going to be looking at today. And then there's some ways that it can be used in the classroom that y'all can reference later. So for our students, because that's really what we're thinking about is our students. Matt Miller, and he actually spoke at the conference we went to. He calls them tomorrow glasses. That our students that we have now have got to be prepared to work in a world where jobs that for kindergartners, jobs that they're going to have don't exist right now, which is crazy to think about. In the book, he mentions a group called Alpha Gen learners. These are children who are born after 2010. That by age 8, they would have surpassed their parents' and teachers' technological abilities. I mean, as well as I do, you can hand most kids a phone and they can figure out things better than adults can. So we have to keep in mind that our kids are not going to work in the same world that we grew up in. And that's hard. It's hard to change. I think about our teachers who have been teaching for 20 years. My daughter's kindergarten teacher has been teaching for 37 years. It's crazy to think about change, and it's scary, but we have to prepare our kids for the world that they're going to be in. One other very large thing to address with AI is accessibility. And there are so many things that I can't even go into it, but this presentation link right here is an entire presentation of ways that AI tools enhance accessibility for students. And the list is mind-blowing of ways that we can help students be able to learn easier and help be able to produce work easier. And at the end of the day, be successful in the classroom, which can mean everything to a student that's struggling. So I highly recommend you check that presentation out. It is not mine. It is one that I got from a presentation. I'm going to go over to that real quick. Let's see. So it's 14 slides. It's not a ton of slides, but it's some ways and some tools that AI can help support those students in the classroom. Whoops. And of course, I knew I would probably do that. Let me go back to presenting. Minor technical difficulties. Okay, so the plan. And so, a lot of people, that's the big question, is that this is cheating or it's plagiarism. So this is an infographic that is included in the textbook where it talks about student created work versus bot created work. So completely student created is that, a student wrote the assignment without using AI or the internet. And you and I both know that most of the time they use the internet. We encourage it when we do research papers and things like that to search the internet for sources. So that's an important part of it. So a completely student created assignment, is kind of hard to think about right now. Now, a complete bot created assignment, that's not really what we want, where they plugged it into AI and they copied it and they submitted it. We really want to kind of fall somewhere in the middle, that where the student came up with the content and thought of the ideas and maybe used AI as a proofreader or used AI to generate some ideas or to help structure the paper or things like that. Because one of the things that I love about ChatGPT is that you can put in something and ask for a response back. And then you can also say, make this on a 5th grade level or something like that. So, you want them to be able to come up with their own ideas, but also use AI as a resource to help them create a product that is really worthy of being submitted to a teacher as a final product. And like I stated earlier, just doing basic answers is really not going to be enough anymore. The bar is going to have to be raised a little bit higher, in my opinion, for us to be able to get that good quality work where you can really assess the student's knowledge. So this was a big part of our conversation, is that, we around the world and in education, I've read tons of articles about, responses to AI. People will just say, well, we just need to block all of them. Okay, well, it does the work for the students and that's cheating, that we don't need to use technology anymore. We don't need to use Chromebooks, that we need to go back to paper and pencil. Kids can't write, they can't think, and that, they don't have to do all of this anymore. We've all heard these responses. You and I both know that by blocking one tool, students are going to find a way around it. We work every day blocking websites and game sites and things like that are harmful to the kids, but then they go find another way around it. So blocking all of them is typically not the answer. If we can teach them how to use certain ones, that's going to work out a little bit better for us in the end, in my opinion, again, than just blocking all of them. So, and by completely removing technology, most of your high school students do take dual enrollment classes, and most of those things are online. I just finished a master's degree and an ed specialist degree, and it was 100% online. I went to campus twice in 2 years. So, that's their future. They're going to be doing learning online and need to be used to that to be successful in their jobs. They're going to probably have to use some type of technology, and they need to be prepared on how to use that, how to have those skills of communication through emails and word processing skills and searching skills and things like that. And then, in regards to that, they don't have to really think about it anymore. We've got to model and help train kids on how it should be used and the conversations to have. And it comes back to those digital citizenship conversations about what's ethical and not ethical. So now that I rambled for about 20 minutes about things, now we can kind of get into some examples. So I've got them all pulled up on my window. So I'm kind of going to go back and forth a lot on my tabs. I'll try not to do it super quick, of some approved examples. So I've got 6 listed. I'll kind of go through them on here and then I'll jump over to them. So a lot of people love Canva. It's a really fun tool to use. It creates lots of stuff. Canva has its own AI tool built into it called Magic Studio. So it's pretty awesome. I use Canva for tons of stuff that I create. So I've used Magic Studio some, not a whole lot, just because I'm pretty familiar with Canva, but Canva can also be really overwhelming for some people. And so using Magic Studio kind of helps with that beginning shock a little bit. And then Curipod is another one that's really good. Both of these are free, and you can create an account for both of these with your Google. For Canva, I do ask that you try to go in through Clever for Canva, because that gets you the educator account where you can have all of the things for free. You don't have to pay for anything. So I am going to jump over to my Canva. And now Magic Studio has a spot over here on the left. You also can just type in something and it will generate something for you. So if you were wanting to create a classroom newsletter for Valentine's Day, you can just type this in. Well, we'll do one of these other ones. Flyer for Valentine's Day, an open house for a real estate company. Okay. So it generated that for me. And so then it's going to generate some flyers for you. And of course, with Canva, you can click on it and edit it and all that fun stuff. But also with Magic Studio, you can create presentations too. Like you can just type in that you want to make a presentation on the planet Mars, and it will generate the presentation for you. Again, you can go back in and edit it. And that's where, I was talking about that, a student could use that as a base and give them a starting point, and then they could elaborate on that and fact check it and things like that. So I like the Canva pieces that are offered. And again, if you're not a Canva user, I think that this will be a good place to start because it's a little less overwhelming than all of the other things. Curipod, if I can talk, is basically a way to create interactive presentations with your students, and it generates it for you. So let's see, we'll do science for 6th grade. Okay, so what it is going to go through now is it's going to give you different things that you want to put in your lessons. Like, do you want to have a multiple choice question that this kid's participating in? Do you want to have a brain break in your lesson? Explain it like I'm 5. We probably all need that in our life. Do you want a mini project at the end? So this is one thing I do love about CareerPod is that it also, instead of just giving you just content, it also builds in extra things for you. So like everybody loves a good brain break that you want to have in there. And then you click do magic. And so it gives you, if you could transform into a magical creature, would you turn into a mermaid or a werewolf? And so kids can join in with this with their pen and they can follow along with this on their devices, which makes it interactive in the classroom. And you can go back and you can add a slide. You can add in media. You can also upload a presentation that you already have. So if you've been teaching for a few years and you've got your presentation down to say exactly what you want to say, but you want to add in some of those things, you can upload your own presentation and add in some of these things. You can also search for different things like American Revolution. Somebody's probably already built it. I did one on digital citizenship, or I required the tech coordinators to do this whenever we were going through our presentation. But they've got, slides that are already built for you. So lots of good features, lots of just new things, especially if you're looking for new ways to challenge your students or incorporate technology in a different way. I highly recommend CareerPod. So again, you can sign in with Google. It's a free account. They do have an upgraded version, which most of these tools do have a paid version if you want to upgrade for another, for whatever reason. Create a lesson. This is where, I'm sorry, you can add, different things and add more things than just one thing. But the little brain breaks are cool, I think, too. I have to use those for some of my sessions, too. Okay. I'm going to jump back over to the presentation. Those are more beginner ones, and those are ones that are pretty much like you can log on to, figure out how it works, and get started with something pretty quickly. Now we move on to more intermediate. So Chat GPT, been around for a while. Some people are super pumped about it. Some people are like, it scares me, don't want to use it. You kind of have to play around with it a little bit, but you also need to kind of have an idea of what you want to do with it. You can just talk to it, or you can actually utilize it for a reason. So we'll do some examples about that. Scribe is my all-time favorite new thing. It's fantastic, and I probably get way too excited about it, but I'm going to show y'all what it does next too. So I'm going to jump over to Chat GPT. Oh, of course, we ran into an issue with me signing in. So we'll see if it'll let me sign in now. It may have just timed me out because I pulled it all up before we got started. Okay. So it does kind of give you some tips to get started. Whenever we were first doing all this, and I was like playing around with it a little bit, it didn't really have all this. So they've kind of, I think, added things to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So one thing that I used this for recently, write a recommendation letter for a student for college. So I put in that I wanted it to do a recommendation letter, and it is writing a recommendation letter for me to do for a student. Now, looking at this, it is very lengthy, and I'm like, wow, that is wonderful, but it probably says way more than I probably need to say. It does have a little disclaimer. It can make mistakes. You will notice it does have where you go back and you would take this template, you would copy it, and you can actually download it, I believe, by using this button. Yes, you can share your link to it right there. Well, I thought there was a way you can copy it to your clipboard by using the little clipboard at the bottom. You also can help Chat GPT by liking or disliking its responses, learn how you want to use it based on your account. So if you liked this, you could say, make it shorter. So now it's going to shorten my letter. So if you are a school counselor and you have lots of students that ask you for an admission letter, I know that this is not the most personal thing probably, but you could use it as a base format and then add in specific things about the students as you want to. I think it would save you a lot of time if you were to do that. Again, it's just a tool that you can use to help be a time saver. If you Also could use this for lesson plan ideas. You could say, help me explain dividing decimals in third grade language, and it's going to simplify the language and the context for you. Or you could, improve vocabulary. Like you could say, take this paragraph that I wrote and help me improve my vocabulary. So if you really think about it too, as a teacher, this could kind of be one of those things where you sat down with the student and said, okay, I'm reading this paragraph right here. What if we wanted to make it sound a little bit more formal? What if we use these words instead? We've all had those conversations with our students, and now ChatGPT could do this for them individually all together instead of waiting to have that one-on-one teacher conference. So I think it would be a really good tool to use for that. Or write your recommendation letters or your parent letters if you need those to go out too. So again, ChatGPT, you can use your Google email, your Chilton BOE. It does have an upgrade that costs money. You can use the free version. They do come out with newer versions. Like you can see, this is 3.5, and then there's 4. You have to upgrade for that. It is not blocked on our network either. All of these tools have been approved by us. We've looked at their privacy policies, and they are allowed for teachers. I know all for teachers. I'm not sure if we've opened them all for students yet. I'll have to double check on that, but you can use ChatGPT. All right, Scribe. This one is my favorite because in my particular role, one thing that I have to do a lot of is make directions on how to do things. So the typical way I used to do that before is I would take 12.5 screenshots and I would put on a Word doc and I would type all this stuff and then I'd make it a PDF and all of those things. And that takes a lot of time. So before we got out for break, I did this one about recalculating final grades in Power Teacher Pro. Yes, there's a typo on there. I make a lot of those too. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like. Basically, what I did was I went into Power Teacher Pro and I activated my Scribe. It says capture a recording, and I clicked through the steps and it built this for me, which is fantastic. So basically it watched my computer do this and then it generated these directions. I can edit all of these. I can take steps out. If I clicked, an extra time and it said click here, you can edit what it says, and you can even plug in your own steps as well. And then you can share it via a link, embed, or export to a PDF. There is an upgraded version that we're looking into getting for, a couple people who do this often in the district. But as a teacher, if you're wanting to leave step-by-step directions to access a new website or a new module or, do something different, all you have to do is pull it up and go through the steps and it generates the scribe for you. So it is a huge time saver for me. Also, I know that I used to have to do directions because I taught in an intermediate school. I would have to do directions on how to submit an assignment in Google Classroom. You could do this one time and have those directions generated. It's kind of similar to Screencastify, starting a recording and go through your steps, but this generates your list for you too of your steps. Super, super simple to use. It does install as an extension. Y'all can't see my toolbar, but up at the top of your Google toolbar where you have your Clever extension and Cami extension, it installs up there. It's a little red dot with that logo on it. I can't find the logo right now for Scribe. Or I would show it to you, but it installs as an extension. You click on it. And so it says, Hello Kitty, start a capture, and it would start a capture on my screen. So super handy. And I was way, way excited whenever I found that one. Okay. And then the last two that I have that I was super pumped about, and now I'm super sad about, Magic School AI. It has blown up and is very popular for a good reason. And that is now that they are going to start charging. So you can do a free version for teachers. It is not going to have everything on it that we probably used to be able to use. They also have a plus account. I cannot make any decisions or advise you on any way of how to pay for that, or if you could use funds for that or anything like that. So ask your bookkeeper, but it does have that on here. So one thing that I do love about Magic School AI is that all of this is FERPA compliant. meaning that all of the information that you put in here, they're not going to do anything with it. So Magic School AI is the one that has all of the magic tools available to you. So again, you can sign in, you have a free account, but they're going to, ultimately ask you to upgrade to the plus, which you do not have to. You can still use the free account. But it says, like, when I signed in, I have a free trial until January 16th. So just keep that in mind. But they have also revamped the way their website looks too. So as you can see, there are a lot of things that are on here. And so I know this is kind of overwhelming to look at. So we're just going to look at a few. If I have any special education teachers, this is the one that has an IEP generator. So I have done this one personally. You fill in a very brief amount, which I know does not seem like a lot, but remember, like, this doesn't have to be the end all be all. This can be a start for you to look at and then go from there. So you fill in, their grade level, the general disability that the student may have, and you can list as much or as little about their behaviors, needs, and strengths. And then it's going to generate a base IEP for you, which I think is incredible. Maybe I shouldn't have checked that. They also, oh my gosh, they've added so many new ones since I looked at it. Math story word problems. I know, some of our teachers in the elementary world, we get really tired of using the same things over and over again. It can also generate letters of recommendation, teacher jokes. That's new, maybe interesting. A behavior intervention plan, make your directions more concise and sequential so they're easier to understand. This one literally has something that I think everyone could find. A professional email, quote of the day, song generator, so many things that this one could be used for. So Magic School AI, if you don't use any of the tools today, this is probably the one that is going to be of the most use to you. And we'll see what the free version lets us keep. I'm interested to find that out because, like I said, they've changed a lot of this since I first started using it back in the fall. But it does have some really good things that hopefully we'll get to keep for that. And so the only reason it was on advanced is because there are so many options that I know that this can be overwhelming for some people. And then the other one I have on advanced is called Question Well. So Question Well is you sign in, of course, like everything else, they have upgraded version, and this generates question sets. So like one of those examples of, that you have a quiz or something and you want to, keep the content the same that you're assessing, but you want to change up your questions every year. So what's really great is that you can get your questions based on any amount of text you want to copy in here. You can insert a YouTube video or a URL. It looks like the upload is going to be a paid feature now, and then you can import other questions for it to revamp, and that's going to be part of the upgraded feature too. But what I do think will work, let me, I was going to try to, I know what I can do. I was going to try to copy the link to my presentation that I shared with you all earlier and see if it will let us around that way. Because technically uploading a presentation would be part of the paid version, but we'll see if it will generate some questions based on my presentation. Okay, so it may have gotten onto me. Whenever I practiced this for the first time, it let me do it. So I guess it knows that we have a presentation in there, so it's not going to let me do that one. So that kind of stinks. It let me do it before. But what I could also do is I could copy some of the text that I had and put it in right here, and it would generate questions based on that, or a YouTube video and generate your questions that way. So sorry, my example kind of flopped with that, guys. But you can also choose whether you want it to be multiple choice, fill in the blank, or short answer. So again, this is more of a time saver for the teacher. This is not really something that the students would use. But like I said, if you have something that you've already used, you could copy and paste. Let's see if I have something that I can just copy and paste in there so we can, I know what I can use. This is the comment, or this is the letter that went out to our district about our free lunch program starting, so we'll see if it generates questions. 8th grade language, English. Also, for our schools that have a very large EL population, it can be translated into different languages, so that's fantastic. Um, let's generate some questions and let's see how long it takes to come up with some questions on that. You can quiz everybody on if they read our news release on our free and reduced lunch. So it takes a minute, but probably less time than it would take for me to come up with all the questions on my own. Okay, so it came up with 20 questions. That's probably a setting somewhere that I did not check on there is how many questions that I wanted it to do. Um, they're multiple choice. So it has essential questions. You can filter them by learning outcome. It looks like vocabulary and question type are an upgrade, which again, it is usable with the free. If it's really important to you and you love it, you could upgrade. I'm not sure how much it is. And it does show you what the answers are. So I think that you could select all of them or, just select the first few and then you can export it. Now, this is a really good part about this that I love too, is that it integrates with tons of platforms. So if you use Quizzes, if you use Kahoot, GimKit is another newer one, Blooket, Google Forms. So all of these questions can be imported into whatever format you want. So this was also my big selling point for Question Wheel too, is that, okay, I generate all these questions now. How am I going to get them to the kids? You can do them in multiple different ways. So if I just wanted this to go to a Word doc, I could do that and then I could print it off for my kids. So again, huge time saver for teachers. I think even just generating some multiple choice questions is going to be a time saver, especially for Google Forms where you do multiple choice anyway. So I think that one's pretty worth it as well. Okay, so going back, those were our two advanced ones. So I did include some other resources. These are linkable that you have in your presentation. AI for Educators is the book from Matt Miller that I referenced a lot through the presentation that I got a lot of this information from. So those are just some additional resources for you. So for those of you that are just watching the recording, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, maybe. Stop recording.